a lot of people don't know, and including myself, because I didn't know until recently, the creator of Full Metal Alchemist has another series. Ekbatana is burning. In a prosperous kingdom of Pars lies the royal capital of Ekbatana, a city of splendor and wonder, ruled by undefeated and fearsome king Yggdragnus. Arslan is the young and curious prince of Pars, who despite his best efforts, doesn't seem to have what it takes to be a prosperous and proper king like his father. At the age of 14, Arslan goes to his first battle and loses everything as blood-soaked mist of war gives way to scorching flames, bringing him to face the demise of his once glorious kingdom. However, it's Arslan's destiny to be the ruler, and despite the trials that face him, he must now embark on a journey to reclaim his fallen kingdom. So the first volume follows Prince Arslan, who is known to be weak and feeble, and the son of the king who's fearsome and undefeated, known as King Yggdragnus. I believe that's how you say it. They are royalty of the kingdom of Pars, and they are located in the royal capital known as Ekbatana. Look, I'm gonna be butchering these names, so I'm super sorry because I haven't heard how these are pronounced. When the book starts, the kingdom is at war with the Lustanians. The kingdom went off to help an ally with the war, so they went and gave their assistance, and they won. They won this battle/war they were aiding in. As a return to this battle, they bring back a bunch of warriors, mercenaries, people of this country, and they bring back people of all ages. They had kids out there fighting, they had old men out there fighting, they had young, they had everyone you can think of was out there fighting for their country, and while they came back as prisoners of war. As the prince walked the streets, after this big parade that was put on for his father and the returning troops, the prince noticed that one of the prisoners of war was a kid, and he saw that a bunch of his people were about to start beating up and picking on this kid. Well, a bunch of stuff happened, and this kid ended up actually escaping from this makeshift jail cell they had him in. I think it was made of wood and some other random knickknacks put together. And because of that, that little kid prisoner ended up taking the prince as a hostage, and it led to this huge chase through town. And all the while, Arslan was asking this kid, why are you doing this? Why were you fighting? Why not just give up and be like us and not like scoundrels, like be civilized human beings? And the kid tells the prince, you have it the wrong way. We accept everyone. We don't have slavery, unlike you guys. And if you look around, it shows it through the different panels as they're running through the city. There are slaves everywhere, and all the people they were going to take in were going to be the prisoners, and they're slaves to work and build the city up. So after the prince went instead of these civilians and took this place and went through this whole big escapade through the city, the prisoner ends up escaping after they jump off this tower into the river. The kid prisoner ends up taking a horse and running away. Gets away. It is what it is. And everyone thought, it was a foolish thing. The prince was sitting here playing and having, a good time. Why are you doing this and that kind of thing? When the guards that were actually trying to save him were just glad that he's okay and nothing really happened to this prince. So, as this prisoner kid's riding away, he said, don't worry, I'll be back and I'll save those people, which in return, all the people he came with ended up being killed because of his actions. But that's here nor there. So 3 years later, Prince is off to war. He's off about to take on this new thing. He's out to try and prove himself at the age of 14. He's in the front of this battalion, and there's a lot of things kind of up in the air at this point. There's a bunch of doubts with the weather because it's very foggy, and some of the troops never came back from the recon, which is due to be expected, but due to the weather, they're kind of up in the air, and the fact that there's possible treason in the mix of it. Well, the king gets mad at Arslan's, I guess, his person dedicated to guard him, and they deranked him and did a bunch of other things, and Arslan ends up saving him from being, killed for a traitor, because even though he's not, he spoke out and said, hey, there might be a traitor. We should be cautious or even possibly retreat. King didn't like it. So after that, the horn was called to go to battle, and they lead into battle. And they fell right into a fiery death trap. A bunch of the horse cavalry troops ended up falling into a pit of oil and tar, set ablaze. They all got unalived, and the whole thing went down. It was just one big problem, and unfortunately most of the army that was there died. I think about 99% of the army died, and a bunch of the troops ended up making it to the enemy base to where they ended up dying there on the way. So that also includes the fearsome king Argadonian, or however you pronounce it. Here's how you spell it. But this means that Arslan was able to get away. Even though he almost died, he ended up killing a person or two, and he was able to escape. And you were face to face with the traitor, which I'm not going to tell you because you need to read the book. Who the traitor is, it wouldn't make sense unless you read it. So after being face to face with the traitor, Arslan got away, went with his, I guess, the courier or the bodyguard per se, and they ended up escaping, going and finding troops and people they trust and that's how the first volume. So with this, I like the pacing of. The pacing of this first volume is actually pretty decent. There was a 3-year time skip, and it was kind of worth it because, and necessary, due to the fact that you're getting to know this character, and all of a sudden this big event happens, and you see he's got to prove himself. In the very first chapter, you understand how the world perceives him, and he's not as strong and brave as his father, but he's still smart, and he can still do it, and possibly win in battle. So they put him to the test. When reading this, the art is fantastic. I love it. It reminds me of Full Metal Alchemist because a lot of these characters are from Full Metal Alchemist. I'm sorry, there's no way to sugarcoat it. They look like them. The main character looks like Edward. The sidekick bodyguard, I can't remember his name, looks like Shun, who's, ends up being his best friend in Full Metal. There's a bunch of people that look like other characters from Full Metal. I get it that you have an art style, but it's like the fairy tale syndrome. Everyone in Eden Zero is from fairy tale. There's no separation. It's the same world, kind of, even though that's not the case. Overall, though, that's the only thing I have with it. I wish it would have went different little bit designs, but as a Full Metal Alchemist fan, I still appreciate the art style and the detail and everything in there. The other thing I really appreciate about it, it doesn't hold back on the blood and the gore and the thing of war. It gets the point across when it's peaceful and when it's very bloody and you're in the middle of war. It doesn't hold back. I also love that some of the panels are blank to get the emotion across of these characters. Then when it gets into the city and other places of living, it's very detailed. You see the characters come to life. You even see the animals have life come to them through the design and the art that is drawn in this. Overall, this book is pretty solid. I really enjoyed it. It's still going. It's not canceled. It has 20 volumes out, which is nice. There's an anime, which I was talking to my roommate about, and he said, yeah, I've seen the anime. I never read it. Didn't even know there was an anime. So for those who are new and you like Full Metal Alchemist, and that's why I got into it, this is definitely a series you should pick up. It's not at the fancy transmutation, alchemy stuff, but it's more down to earth, more realistic tone with being of like Middle Ages and being with the old times of, sword and horseback, bow and arrow, that kind of thing. And you should definitely like it. If you really like the art style especially, you should go with this story. So I'll probably end up picking it up. Maybe. I'm going to try. But it's an older series and it's up to volume 20 at the time of this recording, and it's going to be a lot to pick up. But let me know what you guys think. I'm looking forward to see how this goes. I'm going to keep on reading it and see where it ends up. Yeah. If you guys like that little description and how things went, let me know. But yeah, all I gotta say is you can really tell it's from the creator of Full Metal Alchemist, and that's perfectly fine. So let me know what you all think, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.